Well, both your answers are correct. Number one, we can't afford to do that, regardless of the number. And Oklahoma is very capable of that. I mean, they're a good football team. We're not the only team they've gotten big plays on, but that's neither here nor there. The important thing is we gave them up, and we've got to be able to defend far better than that, and that's a lot of reasons why. But yes, we're working on it.
Also, on Saturday, statistically, you'll be going up against the best defense you faced since Mississippi State in week 2. During a season in which points and yards have been tough to come by for your offense, how laborious is the process in identifying the things that have a chance to work this weekend, and how much does what worked and what didn't work against TCU a year ago kind of play into that preparation process?
Well, I think we always go back on either side of the ball and pardon my voice, and address previous games. Not just last year, but previous years as well. Certainly do the obvious. If there were things that we had success with, and we certainly entertain the utilization of them if it fits our personnel, but also to have a good understanding of what your opponent has done well against you, laboring under the assumption you'll probably see those things again.
Coach, when you're breaking down a game, for example, KU and TCU, do you watch the entire game or just watch cut-ups? And if you watch the entire game, what did you take away from that game between KU and TCU?
Well, we watch the entirety of a game, and we watch the cut-up, so it's a combination of all of the above. What do I take away from it is what I've said so many times before, is that top to bottom, I think we're as good a conference as you'll find. The point being that anybody can beat anybody on any given day, and that's been proven time and time again. They were two teams that I thought both of them really played pretty well during the course of the ball game. I think sometimes, once again, you look back and everybody would say, well, that's a major upset, but nobody's beaten Kansas firmly this year. So they've been in every ball game that they've played, and no reason that they wouldn't be a formidable opponent for TCU, anybody else.
Coach, after a loss the way that it happened on Saturday, how difficult is it to keep a team's confidence up after losing in that sort of fashion?
Well, I think it kind of depends on the team. It depends on your players. And it doesn't make it easy. I mean, but if you have quality young guys and guys that have genuinely care and have a passion for the game and desire to compete, then it's far less difficult than it would be if you had the other.
What do you feel like is the biggest thing holding you guys back from being competitive with teams like Oklahoma, West Virginia?
Well, I think in each game, I mean, all games are different. We just didn't play as well as we're capable of. And consequently, that goes back to preparation, which would lend us to think that maybe we didn't prepare as well as we should have.
Gary Patterson shared some interesting words yesterday on the Big 12 Coaches Teleconference regarding the current state of football season for TCU and K-State. And he said both TCU and K-State are built a lot the same. They're built with a lot of pride about the program. And he said what people don't really understand is what the kids go through, what players go through, what coaches go through when you're used to it not being the way it is. Can you put into words how taxing the season's been from your viewpoint when your team isn't experiencing the success it's used to?
What it is? I didn't hear the word.
Your viewpoint, how taxing
Taxing,
the season
okay.
is.
Well, I think all seasons are taxing. I mean, it's long, it's hard, it's 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and regardless, win, lose, or whatever the other one is, used to be draw, but it certainly, if taxing is the right word, I mean, it's more, it would be considered to be more taxing if if you were not having the kind of success that you felt that you were capable of. And for me, that's not, it's not about, the wins and the losses. It's about our youngsters, doing as well as they're capable of doing, preparing as well as they can, playing as well as they can. I can live with the results if they've done the very best that they can. That's part of life's lessons is, trying to do the dead level best that you can, and if you do that, then, you live another day.
And you have talked about players, coaches, looking inside themselves right now at this juncture of the season, needing 3 wins in the final 4 games to qualify for a bowl berth. I'm just curious what you picked up regarding the desire level of your team to achieve on the field. Is there apparent unity within the squad, or is there some uncertainty in that regard right now?
Well, I'd like to, excuse me, I'd like to think that, that they want to succeed, and it's not just about playing in a bowl game. They certainly want that. It's been a long time. I mean, all of them have, none of them have ever been without, a bowl game on their resume in any given year, so that would be a unique experience for them. But I think above and beyond that, I think they want to be a competitive football team. I think they were embarrassed with the outcome of this particular ball game, and didn't like that feeling. Don't want to feel that way again. I think there's whatever you would call it, maybe a passion to improve themselves to the point where they don't get embarrassed like that.
Obviously, TCU for the majority of the season has been with Sean Robinson as the quarterback, and now they've had to move on to Michael Collins. Number one, how tough is it to assess a quarterback's play with such limited tape that you have on Collins? And in the limited tape that you have seen, what have you seen out of his ability as a quarterback?
Well, I mean, the more you can see, the better assessment that you can make. I think we think he's probably of the two, he's probably a little bit better thrower than the other one. Not quite as mobile, but still, they still run the same offense. They still have the quarterback run game, still run the option, still let him keep the ball on different types of read plays. So they haven't, to my knowledge, I haven't seen anything that would indicate that there's any change in the way they, approach their offense. And he's capable in all aspects of it. Looks like he managed the ball game well from what I saw. So he's still a good player. And you go back into the outset of the season, and there was still, and last spring, there was still a great deal of uncertainty in regards to which of the two would become the starting quarterback. So it was, if Gary felt that they were, that collectively even, then that would send a big message to me that they probably are.
Alex Barnes had 2 pretty big games against Baylor and Oklahoma State. More of a quiet game on Saturday. What do you kind of attribute that to?
Attribute what to?
Just his quieter game on Saturday.
Well, he's not the only guy on the field. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people out there, and you have to block people, and if you do that, you got a better chance. If you don't, you don't. We did not. I mean, it's not Alex. It's not any one individual. We just didn't play as effectively as I'd like to think that we're capable of. Not that the effort wasn't there. I mean, we just didn't play well.
Coach, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You said something.
Then don't.
Okay. You said something a little bit ago saying the win-loss record's not as concerning as if they're doing the best they can. How close are they to that? How would you assess, not thinking about wins and losses, how close is this team to playing as well as it can?
Well, I think it probably depends on the game, but in this past ball game that we're talking about, nowhere near close to what they're capable of. I think the previous week, or the previous game, I thought they got closer. Probably as good a game as they've had during the course of the year, but still not. And my expectations are probably far greater than anybody wants to consider, but I think they're capable of far more.
Coach, have your execution flaws been of a manner that you can pinpoint any systemic breakdowns and things that you're instructing wrong or things that are just not being communicated properly?
Well, I think it's, there's probably a little bit of, of everything that, creates some of the problems that we have. I think, it's so easy to say execution, but, if you're continually making the same mistakes, and, my charge is that that falls in the lap of us as coaches. If we can't get the message across, or we can't, instruct a young person to do something that is of necessity in the course of a ball game, and if they're just incapable of doing it, then it's something that we have to consider. Why are we doing it? Why are you doing it if your players can't do it? So, sometimes, and schemes are all good. I mean, everybody's schemes are good, but sometimes if your players can't do it, then it's senseless to put it on the field. And got to move on and try to get into things that your players can do. That's the most important thing.
Bill, I noticed Kyle Ball was recognized as the, player of the game from the coaching staff against Oklahoma. Nobody else selected from offense or special teams. What stood out about the way he played that made you guys so happy with him?
Well, Kyle made some plays in the ball game, but I think the thing that you see about him is, a young guy that just plays as hard as he possibly can, snap after snap, and when someone else might get down because of the point of the margin of how far behind we were, he just keeps playing as hard as he possibly can. We've said that about him before, and he played well. It wasn't just that he played hard. I mean, he played well during the course of the ball game. Like I said, got in the backfield, forced some scrambles, got a sack, just played well.
I'm sure you always look to reward effort from players, but right now is it a time where coaches might look even more so on that and try to get guys on the field who are giving max effort as opposed to other areas?
Well, I shared that with our players after the ball game, that, the guys that are going to get on the field are the guys that we can count on to provide the best effort that they have, whatever that happens to be.
Prior to the season, we didn't hear much about Malik Knowles, but I know Saturday, he finished as your second leading receiver in both receptions and yardage. Just how much growth have you seen from him since he joined the programs now?
Well, quite a bit. He's worked his way. He's deserving of having an opportunity to play, and he's worked his way into that. It took a while for him to kind of learn the system and, understand, what to do, where to go, how to get there. Is a young man that has skill. He's got good hands, can catch the ball. He's got good range. We don't have an awful lot of those rangy wide receivers that are so popular now, and he provides that for us as well. But has just worked hard and been very diligent about what he does, and consequently earned the right to be on the field.
Bill, I know every coach has a secret in handling this kind of stuff, but when you do go through a season that's not going exactly how you want, what's your key to, keeping your head on straight and setting a good, positive example for players who are maybe feeling down themselves?
Well, I don't necessarily have a a market on the answer, but it hasn't changed. I mean, we've it's kind of been there, done that. I mean, we've been in similar positions before. I think the important thing is is not to abort what the basic principles of your program happen to be. And I mean, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't lend any confidence to your players if all of a sudden, you're philosophically you change in terms of changing all your schemes, that have been good previously. I mean, we do some things differently, but that comes with the time of the year. Basic, when I say changes, maybe just some changes in our practice routine as much as anything. And normally it's something we do at this time of the year because it does get, mundane for players, and try to, eliminate that so there's a little more enthusiasm about being on the field. And, but, based on in my experiences anyway, I mean, the significant thing is if you believe in what you're doing, then you do it. If it's not working, you see what you can do to correct it. And, it's like I said before, if it's schematically, if a player can't do it, then it doesn't make any difference how good we think the schemes are. Then, you have to move on to something else, and you come back to them when you have players in place that can do, that what you desire to do, or what you think are good schemes. So, I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Bill, it may be kind of a broad question, but how would you characterize Isaiah Zuber's season to this point?
Has not been near what he's, capable of and what he would like. And I think he certainly realizes that.
Anything else? There was a situation, I think, in the first half when Skyler fell down over on the Oklahoma bench, and I know Beecham ran over there to try and get him out. In a scenario like that, how would you prefer the rest of the players on the team handle that as far as trying to get over there and help him out, or just stay out of it?
Well, that's what officials are for. And, you want your guys to be there for each other. I don't know that there was anything dramatic that happened over there. I don't know. I looked at the television copy and I couldn't see. I mean, no, it didn't appear like anybody was swinging at him or anything. And I'm sure some words were said, but that's the nature of the beast. I don't fault Abdul. He was there because that was his teammate. What I don't want is, and this happened in the ball game. We got penalized in the ball game because one of our players responded to something that took place, and it's the old adage. Officials see the second blow, so to speak, and so we get a flag, and you just have to have more poise than that. Play with your pads, as they say.
Taquan Patton got arrested over the weekend. What's his status going to be moving forward?
Well, he had not paid a ticket, and that he will, there will be internal consequences for him, for that. But, hopefully he learned a lesson. It's going to cost him some money, quite obviously.
Will he be available on Saturday?
Probably.